Okay, so in this session we're going to be talking about problem solving using consecutive integers. Okay, so let's start off with going over consecutive integers. Okay, so we can take, consecutive integers. So let's say we've got 1. The next consecutive integer would be 2. Then the next consecutive integer would be 3. Then you go 4, and then so on. Okay, but now let's say we start at, I don't know, maybe the number 3. And I ask you, what is the next consecutive odd integer? So the next consecutive odd integer would be 5. Then the next one would be 7. The next one would be 9. Okay. Okay, let's go into some negative numbers. So we could have like -10. And if I ask you, what is the next consecutive even number? Okay, now remember, this is -9. So the next one would be -8. And then the next consecutive even integer would be -6. Okay, so now that we have that established, let's say I've got any integer at all. Okay, so, and I'm going to represent that integer with a variable. Okay, and that variable is going to be n. Okay, n for maybe number. Okay, so I want to know, I would like for you to give me an expression for the next consecutive integer. Okay, let's say n represented 9. Okay, we don't really know. I'm just giving this as an example that it's 9. Well, the next consecutive integer after 9 would be 10, okay? Well, then you have to think, well, how did I get from 9 to 10? Well, to get from 9 to 10, you had to add 1. Okay, so now we have to think of an expression that includes the variable n, okay, to get to 10. So that would be n, which represents 9. So 9 plus what gives us 10? Well, we already know that we have to add 1. Okay, so then to get to 11, well, n plus what will give us 11? N plus, so 9 plus what will give us 11? Will give us, it would be 9 plus 2. So let's say I wanted you to give me the expressions of, let's see, maybe 4 consecutive integers. Okay, so here's the first integer, which is n. So then the second integer would be n plus 1. The third integer would be n plus 2. And then the fourth integer would be n plus 3, right? Okay. But now, remember how earlier we were talking about odd integers and even integers? Okay, so let's say this is our first even integer, okay? And I want the next consecutive even integer. So let's say n represented 4. Okay, because 4 is an even integer. And the next consecutive even integer would be 6. So then how do we get from 4 to 6? Well, we have to add 2. So the expression in this case would be n plus 2. Okay, and then the next consecutive integer would be 8. Okay, and how can we represent that using the variable n? Well, n, so 4, plus what gives us 8? So n plus 4. And you can keep going. Okay, this also works the same with odd numbers. Okay, so like if I asked you to give me or to give me the expressions for 3 consecutive odd numbers, this would be your first odd number. Here's your second odd number, okay, and here's your third consecutive odd number. Okay, and you can, you know, test it out and see if it's true. Pick an odd number. Okay, maybe this could be 9. Okay, what is 9? Okay, n plus 2, so 9 plus 2, that's 11. Okay, 9 plus 4, that's 13. Okay. So now I'm going to give you a problem to solve. Okay, let's say I want to know, or I want to know 3 consecutive odd integers whose sum is 45. Okay, so I'm going to write that out. The sum of 3 consecutive odd integers is 45. Okay, the sum of 3 consecutive odd integers is 45. Okay, so here's a key word, sum. So we know that it's an addition problem. Okay, all right, so the sum of 3 consecutive odd integers is 45. So let's come up with an equation. Okay, so our first odd integer would be n. Okay, plus, because remember it's the sum, plus the next consecutive odd integer, which would be n plus 2. Okay, so 3 consecutive integers. So n plus 2 plus n plus 4, okay, is, that's equals 45. Okay, I'm going to rewrite that up here so I can show my work. Okay, here we go. Now here's my equation. I don't really need the parentheses. So if I were to erase that, our equation looks like this. Now what we can do is we can combine like terms. Okay, so what terms do we have that are the same? Well, we've got the n's. How many n's do we have? We have 3 of them, so 3n. Okay, so we're done with that. What do we have left? We've got 2 plus 4. Okay, so that's 6. So 3n plus 6. I'm going to bring down bring down the equals 45. Okay, and now we just have to solve for n. Okay, so I'm going to subtract 6 on both sides. Okay, so that's 39. Okay, divide by 3 on both sides. Okay, so n equals, what do we have here, 13. Okay, so we're not done yet. We know that the first odd integer is 13. Okay, so 13, and then the next consecutive odd integer should be 15. The next one should be 17. And does that in fact equal 45? Well, we can double check. Let's just make sure. Okay, yep, it sure does. Okay, so 45 equals 45. Okay, so these are the 3 consecutive odd integers whose sum equals 45.